So I use waste material in my art practice for the reason of reusing what is being consumerism, like usually single-use plastic consumerism. So I start finding one or two on the ground, and then suddenly I go, oh, I could do something with this. And not knowing what I could do, I then gather a lot of it until I can make something quite substantial. So that's probably why I go into installation art, because it allows me to make bigger things, and I like to be immersed in the actual work. So when I used to paint big as well, very large canvases, because I wanted to be immersed in the work and not having to look like this in the works.
G'day mate, and welcome to the Sustainaroo Travels podcast, where we showcase the ways real people are making real world changes to live, work and travel sustainably.
My name is Carolyn Cardinet. I am a visual artist. I am a multi-medium installation artist, meaning that I use a different type of materials and working with waste. And that allows me to play with the materials that I find. For example, on my right-hand side here, I've used optical lenses that I get from people giving me old glasses or from the optician in my area. I made holes in them, and then I've used a wire. It comes from actual champagne bottle tops, which I collect and I flatten, and etc., etc. So the worst thing about my art practice, in a way, is that I will keep everything. So if I've cut something, I'll keep that little bit that's off, and etc., etc., and then I'll make an artwork. So that's the good thing about it. So I really don't make waste. Out of the waste, I don't make waste. These are inner tubes from bicycles. So the same thing, I was on the street, on the path, and found one, found two. I thought, oh, this is terrible. Why do people do that? And pick them up, and next thing, I am collecting 850 ties, which are all behind here, and created some of those jellyfish structure, which I intend on having a performance made within, maybe in a lane way, and having performance coming out of these. So this one is not finished, and I'll keep the pokes, and or they can be at the top. So I also use them for wearable, so accessories. So you have this here, and earrings. These are little the cards, the prepaid cards, phone cards. When I was in Portugal on a residency, I actually we didn't know how long we were staying, so I kept on buying them monthly and ended up with quite a few of them. So I kept them. What else do I use? I use twine, baling twine. So having done a residency on the farm, I noticed there was baling twine on the ground. I didn't know what it was, and it was blue at the time. And I picked it up and realized it was what was around the bales, the hay bales, and that on that property they used, I think it was, I could pick up 35 a day of lengths of the big lengths, like I don't know, 1.5 meters. So I started collecting that during COVID and started playing with it and weaving, and that's what you see on my website on the front page, which is a blue one. And do you want to get the other one? And this is the this, for example, is part of that's a blue twine which I separated and weaved through an old colander, and created this sculpture with knots. But a lot of, again, I do a lot of clothing with that. And another thing I've been using for years, I picked up these, which was probably around furniture and delivery in Footscray. So they brought from, I don't know, Thailand or somewhere, around furniture. And I've been unweaving unweaving it and using the threads to attach. So most of my sculpture will be attached with that thread, which is very solid, very solid. And it's quite beautiful at the same time. So that's some of the things. Other things that I'm working on at the moment is the COVID masks. So I didn't really pick them up during COVID, but now I do. Less people are sick, and I wash them, and then I'm going to make an outfit with that. Fishing twine. When I was in Portugal, I picked up all the fishing twine, which are crocheted. So I use different techniques, very much bricolage, handmade, no, it's not great skills, I suppose. These are I don't know if you can see them, but they are the top of the tins, the soft drink tins, which I found on the streets, on the ground, and I pick up. So I've already made a full necklace, and I'm making another one for somebody else. They're only the found ones, like on the street. Usually they've been rolled over by the cars. So I use waste material in my art practice for the reason of reusing what is being consumerism, like usually single-use plastic consumerism. So I start finding one or two on the ground, and then suddenly I go, oh, I could do something with this. And not knowing what I could do, I then gather a lot of it until I can make something quite substantial. So that's probably why I go into installation art, because it allows me to make bigger things, and I like to be immersed in the actual work. So when I used to paint big as well, very large canvases, because I wanted to be immersed in the work and not having to look like this in the work. So also it allows me, using waste allows me to take a lot out of the beaches or streets of Melbourne. And I started going on the beach. I've always been on the beach, but walking on the beach. But instead of picking up wood or shells, about 15 years ago, more than that, 20 years ago, I started noticing plastic, and which I left on the beach, and I just walked past, and a third piece, and I go, that's okay. I'll go back and pick up those pieces, and that's when it started as a work and working with waste. So that inquiry into the material as well, researching the material, researching what you can do with it, has been certainly, that sense of exploration has made the art practice even more interesting. And doing things that are sustainable is wonderful. It's really wonderful, and create awareness and showing it, and loving how people will see a material, and they will see the sculpture, and they will go, oh wow, and then they come close to it, and they'll go, oh wow, this is waste, and they recognize it, and they amazed. The sense of amazement that you give to people is like the sense of wonder when you were a kid. I always remember seeing the first fireworks, for example. That was a sense of wonder that you lose as being an adult. I came into sustainability through picking up on the beach the rubbish. So that led me to think about my children, obviously, and the future. Like a lot of people become aware of that, thinking of the future of their children, and what will it be, how the world will be in the very soon future. So I started looking into it. I went to Brisbane as well to be in Al Gore's project, the Reality Climate Project. There was quite a few people, about 100 people there, doing that 3-day forum. And then I went to a few of them, and I'm just trying to think, there was one in the city. And then I've applied to the one in Port Phillip, the Sustainability Leadership program. And after that, the City of Yarra did one as well with Artist. So how can art has a wonderful power to actually bring the visual of the climate conversation for action. And so that's what I try to do. I'm not a scientist. I'm not going to talk about it. I mean, as such, I can't give figures because I'm so tired to forget. But I can make it with my art and put it, showing the excess in multiples, and that's how I do it. And I read a lot about it and just keep up with it. And then I do workshops. So I educate. I'm an educator with my own little classes, which are eco-sustainability classes and eco-workshop for kids, creating usually fish or creatures of the sea of the future with plastic. So plastic bottles, plastic lids, etc. Anything plastic that I find, again, I don't buy anything, and they create their own sculptures out of that. So this is how I get into schools and do things like that, and privately as well. I also work with people with disability, which is at Belly Arts, where I have a show on at the moment called Plastic Problem. There, I have worked with the artists for about a year on a project, on the exhibition project, which is on now at the moment. It is about getting the artists to become more creative and not do just craft, which is often the case, but to expand their vision of what art could be. Like I learned years ago that, anything can be art. It just depends how you present it, how you make it, it is a package, but anything can be art. So I brought to them some, because they also have physical disability, it's linked intellectual and physical disability. So I brought the twine, and we created, they each created a panel of, they weaved through chicken wire. That was easiest, the holes were big enough for their mobility skills. And they created beautiful panels of weaving. And again, that was a bit random. And then we put them together and created those big sculptures which are on show at the Plastic Problem, the two hanging ones, which are blue, and the blue twine with the yellow twine together. And that's, so we talked about it. They went to the beach. They actually picked up the plastic, realized that plastic is there. The council came to speak to them. So it really opened a whole new awareness and extended their knowledge, not only on sustainability, but on everything, on art, what to do, what not to do, as far as sustainability and waste. So I just want to show you some of the plastic I pick up from the street. So these are the plastic there, and they're mainly lids, but you have all kinds of things that you can pick up. Balloons are a big one. Plastic leaves are great. So the idea was, in my art practice, I actually do not work with color, except that blue one, but otherwise I usually use white or black. I come from a fashion background, haute couture, and really what the dresses that stood out were, for me, either black or either white. I'm also a graphic artist from a background, so it's black or white. So very hard for me to use color, and I came across the blue just by chance, and that's why I've been using it, because I had a certain quantity of material I could use. Saying that, I didn't know what to do with all this except with the kids, which love color. So I actually went on the beach a couple of years ago, another time, and I just noticed that people were taking their dogs for a walk, but they were picking the poo, but they were not picking the plastics. So I was trying to have a conversation with the people, and the answer was, "Oh, good on you," which drove me mad. And at the end, I stopped picking up plastic on the beach because I just get really upset by people saying "good on you" and not doing the work themselves. So, and enjoying the beach. So saying that, I thought, okay, I'm going to make an impact. I'm going to make a dress. Then I will walk on the beach and create attention to the plastic that's on the beach that people do not see, because people don't want to see as well, or they're not aware of it because, I don't know, they're only a meter away from it, but it might not be that obvious. But once you start seeing it, then you start seeing it everywhere, even after the truck has been gone through the beach. So this, I'm showing you again the white plastic I used to attach to a netting, and that will become that dress that's been made, or costume that's been made to parade on the beach and do a video. We did a couple of videos of that. So these are the things that I, pick up. You've got bottles, straws, zip ties, a lot of those teeth to clean the teeth, in between the teeth, glasses again, balloons. So some of the things I've done in my research, I also go to artist residency programs, and I again do an education with a local school or people coming to see what I do, and do beach cleanup. We do that as an organization. I'm not part of an organization, but with organization like Tangaroa Blue, who helped me 2 or 3 times. So, different kinds of plastic we have, and the problem is there's about maybe 15 types of plastic or more. Actually, I think it's 40. And only about 7 are recyclable. However, 9% of the whole world plastic created has been recycled to date. 9%. So, in the 1950s, when they created the plastic, they marketed it as a wonderful tool. So I don't know if you've seen some of the ads where the lovely American family would eat at the table in a plastic plate and then put the whole plate in the bin at the end of the meal. So they made all that plastic knowing very well that it wasn't recyclable, absolutely knowing very well, and we have been lied the whole time since then, so since the 1950s, so we're talking 75 years nearly, of lie. I visited a few plants and type of recycled plants, but it's the plastic problem is actually monstrous. Like, for example, a car manufacturer, for example, to make the bumper bars, it's in a molding machine, and it's got to heat up to right temperature. If it's not right, then the bar won't be solid, or default will be a fault. So they will throw about between 9 and 20 before the actual bull bar is actually to the specification needed to sell, to put to a car, to attach to a car. So you've got problems like this, and I'm sure in anything that it's created from plastic. Plastic is a problem because it comes from oil as far as petrol, not cooking oil, and other components have been put to that. So you have to think that you have to extract the oil from the ground, which costs a lot of money. Then it's transported. Then it's refined, changed, added chemicals, etc. Then it's transported again. Then it's going to make little pellets, so little balls of plastic by colors, which then is transported again to a manufacturer that's going to melt it and mold it into a plastic, which then will be transported again to be filled, or if it's a milk bottle, for example, to be filled with milk. And then it's going to be transported again. Then you buy it from the shop, and then you will use it within 2 days, and then you throw it away. So that's been a magnificent amount of transport and of resources, because you need petrol to carry everything, etc., etc. Water bottles, another one. I mean, we're putting water from the source, from a natural source, in a plastic bottle. which then the plastic sheds so much plastic within the water that's in the bottle that's been in storage for how long? Do we know how long it has been in storage? We don't know. It could be a year, 2 years, we don't know. And then we drink the bottle. So as we know, we all eat about, a credit card per year worth of plastic. Now, my main problem, it's a problem in general, but the main problem for me is I love the ocean. I live next to the ocean wherever I can. I just need it. I don't even need to see it. I just need it physically. And knowing that why I came to pick up on the beach, because not only for my children, but for the creatures that are actually eating all that plastic. Now, plastic can float in the sea forever, can go down. They are actually found plastic in the deepest trenches of the ocean, it's called marina trenches. So it's the deepest place where, the bottom of the earth, and plastic has been found there. Plastic, so as I said, not only floats and creates those swirls of plastic in the ocean. So there's 5 jars. They're even talking about 6 jars now. So what happens with the currents in the ocean, you have that big, there's motion in the ocean, and then it creates not a vortex, but it gathers at the middle of the ocean. So often you don't see it. You might see the off stream on the beach, but the rest is in the middle of the ocean. And it's like a plastic soup, which was discovered by Captain Charles Moore, American, that actually crossed the ocean. A route that not many people take because it's the longer route to go across oceans. And that's when he found it. So you have that plastic soup, but you also have, it creates little islands. And those islands, because, things start to gather, and then it also goes in depth. So it could be 30 meters long, if you've got a few nets and ropes and other items. So you could nearly stand on those little islands. So what happens then? Well, you've got all the fish that are having a bite at it because they think it's food. Then you've got the albatrosses, for example, which on Midway Island. Midway Island is an island where the albatrosses are actually having their babies, nesting. So meanwhile, they have their babies, they go and get some food. They haven't been to school. They don't know that it's plastic, right? So the thing is, with plastic, it carries all mollusks and bacteria that smells very nice to them. So it smells like krill. So they pick up the plastic that smells like krill, ingest it, and then regurgitate it to feed their babies, their little chicks. The problem with that, obviously, is that the little baby albatrosses, the chicks, actually die of starvation, because they've been fed for 3 months of plastic, and it fills up their stomach. So if you could think that these babies have a full stomach of plastic which cannot go through, cannot come out the other end, and then that if you're an adult and you probably have 7 kilos of plastic in your stomach, you wouldn't be able to move. Well, those baby chicks can never take flight because they are far too heavy and have no strength. And they die on Midway Island. And that's only one of the islands. They die everywhere. So people have gone to Midway Island and have opened the stomach of the baby chicks. And it's actually full of plastic. So I think 256 pieces of plastic was the most found in one baby a few years back when they were talking about it. So there's probably more now. And just that history repeats through all, from krill to the whales, and washing your clothes in the washing machine. So microfiber comes out, which you can hardly see. That is found. The microfiber can be found in oysters, in mussels, in anything, and us as well. Of course, that comes to us. So that a few years ago, I realized that if it goes in the fish, then it goes in us as well. Well, they're only talking about it now. They even find it in fetuses, in human fetuses. So other fact is people that have had strokes or heart attacks, and they've replaced some of the tubes, and they found that, again, there was microplastic in the human body. So this is the butterfly effect of plastic for the last 70 years on Earth. And it's not going to get better, and we've been saying it for years. I'm not an activist as such. What's called, it's an artivist. Artivist is an artist and became by accident an activist, so it's Artivist. Okay, so it's not going to get better, and we thought about it a few years back that it needs to be a government law that absolutely is put in place, and Australians are not very quick at that, for all plastics to be stopped, basically, I think. A few years back, I was doing a residency in America, and they were talking about plastic is a poison, and it should be on the labels, like cigarette is a poison, and that plastic is a poison. So be aware, this is a poison. So it's not about do not ingest, it's about let's not use the plastic. So there are many alternatives happening. There are some great films like 2040 and Regenerator. I don't know if you have seen them. If you haven't, I would highly recommend that you watch them. And the other one is Demain, which is tomorrow, a French film made by an actress and her husband producer. And it's all about the people that are trying to make a difference in what they're inventing to counteract, not especially to counteract, but not to use plastic, if you like, yes, and how to make the environment better. So when I picked up the baling twine from the ground on a horse farm, the same thing. I thought, well, if I can find it, the horse can find it. So the horse are eating it as well. So, and that goes in their poo, and then that goes in the ground. If you go on the beach, on the cliffs, you can find that same blue twine within meters down within the structure of the actual cliff. I found some in the street the other day in Caulfield. There's some that was there, that was embedded into the ground. So it's everywhere, and it's horrible. So another thing how to help with plastic is why I make wearables is because to show again the plastic that you can reuse. Of course, mine are a bit fantastical. They're not your everyday wear. But working from the haute couture, I've got that kind of drama idea, exhibitionist idea, I suppose, as an artist, it's a wearable as far as it's a sculptural outfit. Let's put it that way. So fast fashion, terrible. Fast fashion is absolutely terrible, and because a lot of it is with materials created from plastic, again, polyester, all this. But the problem that you have there, so then you have cotton, but cotton takes a lot of water to grow, labor intensive. So it just goes on. What is the alternative? So I go to the op shop and buy all my clothes at the op shop. There's a Monday at $2 and you can find some great clothes. And again, it makes you play. It makes you play because you don't go in a shop that tells you this is what you have to wear together. Then you go to the op shop and you pick up something this, something there, and then, oh, that goes together, and it's actually quite funky. So that's ways we can do that. Not using your plastic containers. Do not reheat in your plastic containers. If you go and get takeaway, well, try not to get takeaway. I'll try to cook at home. I just put ceramic containers with a plastic lid, okay, but I do not make my food touch the plastic. So it's a bit controversial because then you might have bought your food within plastic and you cook it and you put it not in plastic, but you try to find ways of limiting the contamination by plastic that's around you in the world, because it's everywhere. If I go to educate children in a kindergarten, there's plastic everywhere. How many pens are in plastic, lids, every toy is in plastic, everything is in plastic. So I love going to places where they actually use more natural, like wooden toys and things like that. That's and it's so far more peaceful to look at because you've got a monochromatic of beiges and browns and white instead of those colors that are just actually aggressive. They're aggressive to the human person and to the human being and their calmness. It interacts a lot with that. Yeah. So COVID also have put a dampen on the war against plastic, which was really finally happening. Now people have been talking about it since the 70s. So 20 years after plastic was actually made, you had activists talking about the pollution of plastic then. So every piece of plastic that has been created is probably still on Earth, even in the micro bit. So what happens, for example, to come back to that, is when plastic is in the street, car runs over it, breaks it a bit, flattens it, okay, then birds eat it, then it goes into the gutter, goes straight to the beach, then the fish start to bite at it. Then you've got the sun, the salt, the climate, and then the plastic bottle, for example, breaks in 5 pieces, 50 pieces, 1,000 pieces before you know it. And it becomes that microplastic, which is under 5 millimeter. And that's very ingestible by all the sea creatures. Here we go. And then we buy the fish, and then we eat it. Put it in the bin, in that recycle bin, they think it's recycled. It's recyclable. It is recyclable, unfortunately. Most of the bins are polluted by food, for example, if it's a recycle bin, by food. Broken glass, people putting other things in it. No. So recycled plastic is actually not good because you still have to go, again, the truck takes it away, then it goes in the machine, then it's heated up. And also what happens with plastic, you've got different kinds of plastic, right? So behind your plastic bottle, you have a sign, a triangle sign, right? It's number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 maybe. Out of those plastic, as I was saying before, you only have maybe 4 or 5 that are recyclable, right? But do we have the facilities to recycle in Australia? No. Right? So that's the first way. So it's not because you put it in your yellow bin or yellow lid bin that it depends on the areas, because that's not even practical yet, for all councils to be on the same path. Just because you put your plastic in the bin is not particularly going to be recycled, because we don't have the facility. My husband took me to a facility. A friend of his was recycling the facility. And, recycling, no, this is not correct. Shredding plastic. So collecting plastic and being shredded. So it becomes like pellets again. They're not pellets, like they want melted to be pellets, but little bits. So then that could be melted again to create another item. Now, melting plastic, that's bad for the environment because you've got that smell that goes up in the ozone, use heat, etc., etc. Some of the plastic cannot be reused again at all. Okay, it's first for food grade. Talking about food, nothing is good for food grade. So that's why you have opaque bottles. From your bottle of Coke, then it becomes maybe an opaque bottle, or maybe there's another stage in between. But plastic cannot be recycled forever. It's impossible because of the chemical component. Don't ask me too much on that. Glass can be recycled forever. Metal can be recycled forever. However, you've got people throwing the aluminium out. Aluminium is very important, and it can be recycled forever. Planes are made out of aluminiums. So we shouldn't be playing with the top of the soft drink bottles or beers and putting it on the ground, for example. That is precious. It's a precious metal that is found in the underground in the environment again. So basically, with plastic, nobody is perfect, and we can't be perfect. The reason being that wherever you go, there is plastic. If you go to the supermarket, for example, very hard to find a packet of something that's in paper. Paper, is that good too? Don't know, What's your option? So bulk buying, for example, is a very good thing. Buying in metal, recycle it. Buy it in glass. If you buy it in bulk and it could be in plastic, then put it in jars. But you're better off buying a big bag and then putting the things in jars to keep it, so you don't have that transfer of plastic or microplastic into your food, and also you use less plastic in a bigger bag. But like you think, okay, I'm going to go to the supermarket and buy my veggies there, because maybe it's the convenience and you don't have a market next door. You will buy a veggie net with your odd veggies. That's in plastic again, So, and do we need plastic around our vegetables and our fruit? No, we don't. They already have a skin. A banana has a skin. A carrot, you're going to peel it. Your potato, you're going to wash it. So it's all contradiction. All what's been happening is contradictory to what we should be doing. And what we should be doing is looking back at the First Nation and what was done, growing your veggies, going to a market to buy your veggies, although that, again, you need to double check that the food that's coming to them in the first place are not in plastic. Or if they are, well, hopefully it was only a short trip. And they reuse the bags, but it's... everything is like that. On the horse farm, you also have the wheat, the grains that are coming in plastic bag. Where does it go after that? It's similar to this plastic that is weaved. What do you do after with that? It goes in the bin. It's absolutely, every company should be paying a tax to have all of their plastic that was used for their whatever they sell, and send it back to them to reuse if possible, or they have to change the way they do the things and change their packaging. And again, get in bulk, get the grain in bulk, and have it delivered straight to a container. So it goes from the truck straight to the container. Probably it's plastic. That's right, I think. I think at the farm now they have a thing, a funnel, but that's plastic, I'm sure. Yeah, it's a conundrum. It's a conundrum of what do we do now. But certainly in Melbourne now you've got the farmers market. Have your fruit and veggies delivered directly from a cardboard box, and that could come from a market or from, like the eggs, from a grower, directly from a grower. Buy in bulk with friends and maybe share. One does a market once a month and share the food between friends. But it is a conundrum. And the more I look, the more I find plastic, and it's just... I cannot go in the street, just cross the street here, without picking up at least 10 pieces of plastic. When I used to go and pick up the rubbish on the beach, I would have 10 bags of plastic. And I would keep one to make artwork. So the rest would go in the bin. So what happens in the bin again? So then you've got the birds coming and opening the lid of the bin, which then the plastic flies off, goes in the gutter, goes in the beach. And we just it's a cycle, a circular, not economy, but a circular plastic. It comes in and out and goes back in. So as far as if you'd like to explore the arts with in relation to sustainability, what you can do wherever you go in the world is actually look up sustainable art and connect with people that are involved in it. For example, I went to do a residency in America, and I was looking to actually have a collaboration with an American artist. I thought it was a good way of doing it, and I was given a few names. And I collaborated with an English artist in Washington, and we ended up being included in White Nights in Washington. So there's a big network of people working with sustainability nowadays. I mean, it's been going for a long time, but mainly probably the last 15 years I started about to do that, and there's a lot more artists within. So yeah, sustainable art, sustain art, eco art are probably the keywords that you would look Google wherever you are in the world to find kind spirit artists or and people with social media are very open now to meet people. I can text someone from Washington, and then we see each other. If we like each other, we collaborate. So it is possible to reach out far easily your own community. Also, another thing to do is to work with scientists, which I did a couple of times on 2 projects. One was for the coral bleaching, so I reached out to a scientist and asked questions and said if they wanted to collaborate. So they gave me a lot of data, and I went in RMIT, I went in the big labs and looked at bacteria on plastic, and what, they were looking at the bacteria eating plastic, which they haven't really found, but it was a great experience. So you can do that around the world, really, with anything, but in art you can do that. People are very resistant to buy anything plastic because they do not see the value. However, plastic takes about 600 years to not even decompose. It doesn't decompose because, as I was saying, it will break in many, many pieces if it's outside. Inside, I have, for example, I work with milk bottles. I haven't found that has degraded as far as I can see, as the eye can see. But if it was outside, then it would already be broken within a year. So it's a different thing. But as I said, plastic lasts 400, 600 years. So yes, invest in plastic by all means. Yeah, it is a passion. Definitely is a passion. My passion. I work at it every day. It's holidays. Been doing that for 20 years and absolutely love it.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Sustainaroo Travels podcast. If you like today's guest speaker, please check her out on her social medias and her website. She has a lot of interesting exhibitions, shows and classes, workshops that she does throughout the year. Also, if you're feeling a bit down from this episode, check out our full show notes where we go into full details, things you can do. And of course, when you're traveling, try to incorporate some sustainable art. It's pretty cool, pretty interesting, and really insightful. Let's try and live, work, travel more sustainably. Catch you in the next episode. Thanks, guys.